Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. I'm your host Frank Pereira. Here are the latest headlines. Polling is underway in Jharkhand and Jammu and Kashmir in the second phase of assembly elections. Over 400 candidates in the fray for the 38 seats in the two states. 14 Jawans killed by Maoists in Chhattisgarh's Sukma district. Chief Minister Raman Singh holds an emergency meeting. Home Minister Rajnath Singh is to visit the state later today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi wraps up his maiden 4-day visit to the Northeast, highlights centre's initiatives for the region. RBI is set to come up with its monetary review policy today after the growth slumped to 5.3%. RBI is expected to hold interest rates again. And fierce protests take place across the United States over the Ferguson killing. President Obama announces a series of measures. Well, the voting process has begun in Jharkhand for the second phase of assembly polls today. As many as 20 seats are at stake in this phase. The 7 districts going to polls are Seraikela, Kharswan, West Singhbhum, East Singhbhum, Khunti, Simdega, Ranchi and Gumla. Close to 4 lakh voters are expected to cast their ballot today to elect among 223 candidates in the fray.
वोट देना हम लोग का उचित है इसलिए आए हैं इतना भरे भर वोट देने का पक्ष है इसलिए वोट देने के लिए आया है.
Meanwhile, polling has just begun in Jammu and Kashmir as well for the 18 assembly seats. Around 400 additional security personnel have been deployed in the state to ensure free and fair polling. Out of the 18 assembly seats, 9 segments are from the highly militancy-infested districts of Jammu region, including Poonch and Riyasi. The state police chief has expressed apprehensions that militants' outfits may attempt to disrupt the poll process in the valley. Around 15 lakh voters are expected to exercise their franchise to choose from 175 candidates, including 4 sitting ministers. Here's a look now at what's at stake in the Jammu and Kashmir elections in the second phase.
19,000 polling booths for over 12 lakh voters who are eligible to cast their ballot. A sizable enough challenge for security forces who fanned out across the 18 assembly constituencies going to polls. An additional 220 companies of paramilitary security forces have been deployed. Preparations have been fine-tuned on the basis of lessons learnt from the first phase. Multi-layered grids are in place to foil any spoilers.
सिक्योरिटी का पूरा इंतजाम है, ट्रांसपोर्ट डिप्लॉयमेंट नहीं है. मैं लोगों से गुजारिश करूंगा कि वो पहले ही पोलिंग स्टेशन पर 8 साढ़े 8 पर ही आ जाएं ताकि जल्दी अपना वो वोट डाल दे और इसमें ज़्यादा पार्टिसिपेशन करें.
The 18 assembly segments going to the hustings in the second phase are spread over 5 districts, 2 in the valley and 3 in Jammu region. 175 candidates are in the fray. All seats face multi-cornered contests. The fate of separatist leader turned politician Sajjad Ghani Lone, who is contesting from Handwara in North Kashmir, will be keenly watched. Of the 175 candidates, there is the present Deputy Speaker, 4 ministers and 11 other sitting MLAs in the fray in this round. Sakina Ittu is the lone woman minister in the Congress NC government. The first phase of polling in Jammu and Kashmir on the 25th of November had seen a record turnout, a mammoth 72%. Over the last week, a spate of terror attacks, first in Arnia and then in Srinagar, have threatened to play dampener for this round. But the mood of the people sends out every signal of the democratic process being uppermost. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Moving on, now the death toll in the Chhattisgarh Maoist attack yesterday has gone up to 14. Home Minister Rajnath Singh and Chief Minister Raman Singh will be visiting Sukma today to take stock of the situation. 6 Naxals have also been reportedly killed in the attack. The attack took place in the same region where 76 troopers were killed in 2010. Condemning the attack, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said words are not enough to deplore the brutal and inhuman attack by anti-national elements. Chhattisgarh Chief Minister convened an emergency meeting of senior state government officials around midnight to discuss the situation. The Home Ministry has assured that strict action will be taken against those involved in the attack.
जो हमारे शहीद हुए हैं सीआरपीएफ के जवान, उनको तो श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करता ही, लेकिन उनके परिवारजनों के प्रति भी दिल की गहराइयों से संवेदना व्यक्त करता हूं और यह आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं उन परिवारों की पूरी तरह से हमारी सरकार देखभाल करेगी। जो कुछ भी माओवादियों ने यह कायराना हरकत की है, मैं समझता हूं बहुत बड़ी यह चुनौती है और सभी को एकजुट होकर इस चुनौती का मुकाबला करना चाहिए।
We have taken it as a challenge, and the incident is unfortunate. But tomorrow morning we are going and we'll visit the place, and we'll find out what exactly has happened. But it happened during an operation which has been launched against Naxalites in that area.
Let's shift focus now to some economy-related news. The Reserve Bank of India is expected to hold interest rate at 8% in its fifth bi-monthly monetary policy review today. The industry has been demanding a rate cut to push the economic growth, which has slowed to 5.3% in the September quarter from 5.7% in the 3 months to June 2014. 8 core industries, including coal, crude oil and natural gas, had shrunk by 0.1% in October last year. The core sector contributes 38% in the overall industrial production, a parameter that the RBI takes into account while framing its monetary policy. The RBI has kept policy rates unchanged for almost 10 months, citing high inflation. Moving on now, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has concluded his maiden 4-day visit to the northeast states today. On Monday, the Prime Minister lauded Nagaland for its achievements and urged the state to introspect on the ground that remains to be covered. On the 51st Statehood Day of Nagaland, Modi said that his priority will be to develop the state's untapped potential. He recounted a slew of initiatives taken by his government for the northeast.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi greeted the people of Nagaland on its 51st Statehood Day. He also inaugurated the famous 10-day-long Hornbill Festival. Wearing a traditional Naga headgear, Modi enjoyed the colourful opening to the festival aimed at promoting tourism in the region. Modi described the region as an untapped natural economic zone that needs to be built into a stronger, resurgent Nagaland.
I must say, it's not only SEZ, it's NEZ. When I say NEZ, I mean that natural economic zone. But unfortunately, it is untapped. It's my priority that how to nourish this NEZ for any.
The Prime Minister said focusing on improving connectivity to the northeast is essential to attract tourism in the region. He said the centre will provide 28,000 crore rupees to lay new railway lines in the region. He also announced the setting up of 6 new agriculture colleges. The government also sanctioned 5,000 crore rupees for the northeastern region power system improvement project for 6 states to achieve power supply all round the year.
Unless and until we don't have a road connectivity, rail connectivity, air connectivity, it's very difficult to develop tourism. And that's why, for the development of this area and at the same time the development of the tourism, the 28,000 crore rupees provided for a new railway line projects and 14 new railway lines.
Among other initiatives, the Prime Minister also announced 2 special scholarships for students from the northeast, Ishan Uday and Ishan Vikas. Some 10,000 students are expected to benefit from them. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, joining me for a chat this morning is Deepak Diwan, Executive Editor, Northeast Sun. Very good morning and thank you for joining me on the program, Deepak. I mean, let's talk about some of the key issues really of the people of the Northeast and, what are the challenges really as far as the Northeastern states are concerned?
See, well, as you heard the Prime Minister talking about bringing more development in the region. And at the same time, any development when you bring, the problem of security comes first.
Yes.
That's why he held a 2-day meeting in Guwahati where DGPs of
and IGPs, yes.
IGPs were present, and he had a very lengthy discussions with the DGPs, and then he had separate meetings with the chief ministers and along with the DGPs separately. He met all the CMs except Manipur CM who was not present there because Prime Minister was due to fly to Imphal. So I think the government knows that first they have to tackle the security issues in the region. And then, of course, the development comes.
Yes.
You know, both
Roadways
are
and railways
interrelated.
and yes,
You know,
yes.
see, the thing is, even till today, Assam is relatively, comparatively more peaceful now, but still, it is yet to see that kind of investment there. Until and unless we have the complete security cover for the region is peaceful, free from all this militancy and other problems.
Indeed. Indeed. You know, how effective are some of these measures that were announced by the Prime Minister really going to be in the region? He said, 28,000 crore rupees for rail lines there. He's talking about quite a slew of measures, in fact, for the Northeast. How much of an impact is it going to have there?
No, definitely it's going to help the region and the people. See, the thing is, tomorrow, if we look at the trilateral highway, which is coming up, connecting India with Southeast Asia, and it is through Northeast. See, unless we have the rail connectivity in the Northeast, air connectivity in the Northeast, that Southeast Asia, any benefit from trade and all, people will not be able to take advantage of it unless you have all this connectivity put together.
One of the biggest challenges really as far as the Northeast is concerned is that the people from the Northeast feel alienated. Not much has been done, since independence as far as the region is concerned. And we've seen that, time and again, that the development in the region has been extremely poor. Would you say that that would be the biggest challenge, integrating the Northeast into mainstream India?
I'll give you one example. We were looking at Prime Minister Modi's visit to Nagaland. The last time a Prime Minister visited Nagaland was Mr. Vajpayee. I think it was in 2002 or 2000, I don't remember the year.
Yes.
But after that, the Prime Ministers have been going there to ask for votes. But this was the real official visit of Prime Minister to Nagaland. Imagine the gap. See, until and unless you let the people feel that the center is for you, center cares for you, unless you connect with them, you be there, these are the few things. I think Modi has done a wonderful job.
So that particular aspect of it has been addressed, is what you're saying?
Very well, very well. Every Naga knows. They feel that why Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh not even once visited the state in his tenure. He may have gone to address the election rallies, but not as a Prime Minister to look at the state problem. Or connect with the people.
Another major issue as far as the Northeast is concerned, is the issue of militancy now. This too has to be addressed, isn't it? Because, time and again we've seen on a daily basis almost, there are kidnappings taking place, there is some kind of an attack taking place. Now, how is this issue really going to be looked at? How are they going to address this issue?
Well, I think that's why he had closed-door meetings with the Chief Minister along with the DGPs to understand
what are the underlying problems.
And the thing is, what are the difficulties the forces are facing, what are the compulsions these politicians they have. If you look at Manipur, Imphal, where Prime Minister went to attend the closing ceremony of the Sangai festival, see that Imphal Valley itself has more than 24 of outfits operating there.
Yes.
And unfortunately, there has been no effort whatsoever from the Ibobi Singh government or his ministry, any serious effort to bring them to negotiation table. No. No effort.
All right, we'll have to leave it to that. Thank you so much, Deepak Diman, for joining us on the program this morning and putting things into perspective for us. Well, moving on now, here are some of the other stories from across the country in our segment Nationwide. The month-long standoff between the BJP and the Shiv Sena over power sharing in Maharashtra seems to be resolved. Top leaders of both parties met yesterday in fresh round of talks to reunite the old allies. According to the new arrangements, the Shiv Sena MLAs will get 4 cabinet and 8 ministers of state berths in the Maharashtra government. The cabinet expansion has been scheduled for December 3rd. Banking services across the country will be hit over the next 4 days as around 10 lakh public sector bank employees will participate in a relay strike from today. The strike has been planned against a lingering wage settlement issue. The decision comes after talks between the Indian Banking Association and Bank Union failed over the wages revision issue. Two top Maoist women commanders surrendered before the Jharkhand police on Monday. The two leaders have been involved in around 15 encounters so far. Both of them will get 50,000 rupees from the state government for deciding to join the mainstream. Well, let's take a look now at some other news events lined up for today in our segment, The Day Ahead. High-powered committee led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi will meet today to select the new CBI director. Leader of the Congress in the Lok Sabha, Mallikarjun Kharge, and Chief Justice of India, H.L. Datu, are also among the members who will elect the new chief. The term of the present CBI chief, Ranjit Sinha, has ended after he completed his 2 years in office. Congress Parliamentary Affairs Committee will meet today to finalize the party's strategy in Parliament. The meeting will be chaired by Party President Sonia Gandhi. The crucial meet comes a day after the party released a booklet accusing the Modi government of doing a U-turn on several issues during the first 6 months of its tenure. An American delegation led by Assistant Secretary of State for Political and Military Affairs Puneet Talwar will meet senior officials from the External Affairs Ministry today. Dialogue will focus on regional and maritime security, defense trade and new areas of strategic cooperation. The meet comes just days ahead of President Barack Obama's visit to India. The final preliminary report in the Kerala bar bribery case will be submitted in the High Court today. An initial progress report was submitted by the vigilance team yesterday, which clarified that the delay in the probe occurred due to the witnesses not turning up on time. Meanwhile, the LDF has filed a plea in the Kerala High Court seeking a probe against Finance Minister K.M. Mani, who allegedly received kickbacks from bar owners for favourable decisions on reopening their bars. Well, it's time for a short break now, but much more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Back, you're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, Hong Kong's pro-democracy protesters have been warned against returning to the clash site by its chief executive. The latest crackdown comes amid protesters mulling a hunger strike to push for full democracy. The situation remains tense, with hundreds still camped out on the streets of Hong Kong.
Hong Kong Chief Executive C.Y. Leung has warned pro-democracy activists not to return to the streets following the latest outbreak of violence.
落去呢，警方會果斷咁採取行動嚟到執法。喺呢度呢，我奉勸所有仍然佔領或者呢係有意今晚呢重返呢個佔領現場嘅人士，尤其係我哋嘅青年學生。
His comments come after some of the worst clashes between protesters and the police since the pro-democracy demonstrations began 2 months ago. Government offices were briefly shut on Monday after protesters stormed in a fresh push to demand full democracy. However, they expressed doubts over a plan by student leaders to go ahead with a hunger strike to put pressure on China on the issue.
Symbolic of the movement, since we just can see that whatever we done to the government, we have too many things in these 2 months, but the government never reply on give any reflections or any response to our actions. So I don't think that this hunger strike would give any reply.
I don't think this time the government will still have the responses to this umbrella resolution or what they want the government answer. So I don't think it's a really effective action for them.
Despite fresh protests, China remains firm on its stand. Beijing said that it would not allow a UK parliamentary committee to enter Hong Kong as part of an inquiry into its relations with Britain. Chinese officials even asserted its right to have a say in Hong Kong.
英方表明了 坚决反对英国议会、下院外委会派所谓的
After student protest leaders called on supporters to converge on the government offices. Student leaders opened talks with government negotiators in October, but they failed to achieve an agreement and discussions have not been resumed. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Some more international news now. US President Barack Obama has requested for $263 million to improve police training, pay for body cameras and also restore trust in policing. His announcement comes amid nationwide protests over the Ferguson shootout that continued on Monday. Despite the resignation of Darren Wilson, the white police officer who shot Michael Brown, demonstrations continued in various parts of the country denouncing the verdict that declined to indict Wilson. In New York, protesters carried out a peace march and called it the walkout event. It saw a large number of people walking out of jobs and schools to honor Michael Brown. In Washington, D.C., dozens of protesters lay down outside the Department of Justice, which is investigating the case. Well, the two-week-long United Nations Climate Summit opened on Monday in an effort to draft an agreement on cutting down carbon emissions. Now, the conference is hosted by Peru, where around 119 nations, including India, will take part in the discussions. In recent weeks, international attention has focused on new goals announced by the world's top two greenhouse gas emitters, the United States and China, to curb their carbon pollution. The head of the EU delegation praised the cooperation between China and the US and called for other countries to follow suit. UN's climate chief, Christiana Figueres, also emphasized on the need to use renewable energy resources to reduce dependence on the volatile oil market. Well, let's now bring you up to date with the other international news-making stories from across the globe in our World Wrap. The World Health Organization expressed doubt about achieving important United Nations benchmarks in battling Ebola. It said that the year-end goals of isolating and treating all patients and safely burying all the dead would be major challenges. Last week, the WHO estimated that there were over 1,000 new Ebola patients across Guinea, Liberia and Sierra Leone. A suicide bomber struck at a funeral in northern Afghanistan, killing 9 and injuring more than 20 in one of several attacks across the country on Monday. The attack in Baghlan province killed 2 police officers and 7 civilians in an area that is largely controlled by the Taliban. No group claimed responsibility for the attack. US-led coalition warplanes carried out as many as 30 airstrikes overnight against Islamic State of Iraq and Syria militants in and around northeastern Syria. The strikes destroyed a number of ISIS targets, including 3 tanks and armored personnel, and also 7 tactical units. Now, they also targeted 6 of the terror groups' fighting positions and damaged a building occupied by ISIS. The US also struck a target associated with the Khorasan group near Aleppo. Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced to drop the proposed South Stream gas pipeline project after opposition from the European Union. Putin cited the EU Commission's reluctance to give the go-ahead to plans to supply southern Europe with gas via Bulgaria. Moscow had previously accused Brussels of seeking to hold South Stream funded by Russian state giant Gazprom because of political differences over Ukraine. It's time now for all the sports action in our latest sports beat. Goa Football Club registered their 3rd win on the trot at home as they beat Northeast United FC 3-0 in an ISL match on Monday. Goa is now in 2nd place. Romeo Fernandez, Miroslav Slepika and Andre Santos were the goal scorers for Goa. Goa now has 18 points from 12 matches and has brightened its chances of making it to the semi-finals. Northeast United FC remained on 6th spot at the league standings with 13 points from 12 matches. And Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, who have shared the last 6 World Player of the Year awards, face competition from Germany's goalkeeper Manuel Neuer for the Ballon d'Or award. The short list of nominees were announced by FIFA on Monday. Manuel Neuer became the first goalkeeper since 2002 to make the final shortlist for the FIFA World Player of the Year award. Brazilian soccer legend Pele's health continued to improve on Monday, with doctors deciding not to reinstate renal support suspended since Sunday. The Brazilian soccer great had surgery to remove kidney stones on November 13th. He was readmitted to the hospital on Monday after being diagnosed with the urinary tract infection. That's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.